peaceful and serene.
Yeah, we got to get those flowers growing back out there like that again.
Ah.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Are we letting people in? I hit the admit all button so they can come in.
Yeah, I think they're coming in now.
Yeah, I turned off the waiting room before we started.
Okay. Who is that connecting? Is that Janice? No, who is that?
Priscilla Holford, how are you?
Okay.
Morning.
Oh, are you Dan's mom?
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
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 Dr. Steele, how have you been?
I've been doing well.
Awesome.
Thank you for asking.
That's awesome. Dr. Johnson. Dorothy.
Hello, hi, it's Dorothy. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Good morning. How you
Good
doing?
morning. I'm pretty well, thank you. How are you all?
We're all doing well. We're all
Okay,
doing well.
good. I'm sorry.
We've got a small request of you this morning.
Okay, and what is that?
Well, Carol Mitchell is going to be doing the musical presentation, so we were wondering if you could sing the healing prayer for us.
Sing the healing prayer? Okay, I'd be happy to do that.
Awesome. Thank
Okay,
you.
all right,
Wonderful.
thanks.
Yay. Put that in so I know what I'm doing here. Good deal. Well, we'll be starting shortly, everyone. Give a few more people a chance to join us, including Riaz.
You get your readers now, Hermia?
Oh, that would be good. How many people? Yeah, we got. Okay, so anyone presently with us, if you're interested in reading, please raise your hand electronically if you're able to. At the bottom of the participants, if you have access to the participant icon, click it, and at the bottom there should be a hand to the left you can click on to raise your hand. And I need 9 readers this morning for the devotions, if you are willing to read. And if you have less than that, then we kind of go through and repeat people's participation. Thank you, Dorothy. Matthew, would you be willing to read too? Are you there?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Great, thank you. We've got 3 so far. We need 6 more readers.
I'm joining you from Florida. I'm Linda Kadem's sister, big sister.
Oh,
Kathy?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, welcome.
I'm down in Florida, so I heard that you were meeting today and Riaz was your speaker, wanted to join with you. I've been at your
welcome, yes.
Hermione, this is Barbara Taylor. I'll be glad to read.
Please do, Barbara.
Okay. It's going to be Matthew's name, but
Okay.
you can call on him twice.
Okay, that would work. That would work. Thank you.
I'll be willing to read, but I couldn't figure out to find a hand.
It's okay if you can't. Then I'm going to write down who's going to be reading.
I'll be glad to read.
So Barbara Taylor,
Priscilla.
Priscilla Holford. Okay, that gives us 5. We need 4 more readers.
Carol got a hand up. Carol Mitchell?
Yes, I have my hand up.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Carol.
Hi,
Wonderful.
Carolyn. How are you?
Dorothy Alapa.
Lapa.
Say something and then I got quiet.
Hi, Kathy. You're on mute.
Hi, Priscilla.
Hey, are you in Columbia?
Columbus, Georgia. Yes.
Columbus. Oh, get it right. Okay. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Yes.
You're well. That's the main thing, huh?
Yeah. How's North DeKalb?
Okay, so far COVID free.
That's excellent. That's good.
Hi, Kathy. This is Carolyn.
Yes, I remember you, Carolyn.
Yeah,
Driving
Carol.
around with you.
Yeah. How are you doing? You looking
I'm
good?
doing great. How are
Good.
you?
I'm doing fine.
Where are you at now?
I'm still in Noonan.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, still up
That's good.
here. I think about you guys a lot.
Oh, well, we need all the prayers we can get down here.
Oh, believe me, I know.
Carolyn.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I interrupted you. I apologize. Carolyn, I was about to squeal on you, Barbara. Just so you know, Carolyn has a beautiful voice. So in the future, just FYI, I was just letting you know, Barbara.
She's singing today.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love to hear you sing. Thank you.
I love to hear you sing too. Yeah.
Thought I was squealing on you.
That's pretty much what I do as part of my participation.
Beautiful. My love, Hermie, how are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm well. Thank you.
Wonderful. I'm renaming a couple people so I see their names as readers. Rename.
Some of us are joining you from Florida. Ken is from Florida also. And Sean and Jennifer are from California. Jennifer is Linda's youngest sister. My younger sister also. So the whole family is here. But
Great.
we wanted to hear Riaz and see all of you.
It's good to see you, Kathy.
Yeah, good to see you.
Aloha, Riaz. It's Dorothy. How are you?
Dorothy, good to see you. Aloha.
Pleasure.
Aloha, Riaz.
And Hermione, aloha.
Yes, aloha.
My
Welcome.
friends.
Aloha, dear friends.
And Ahmad, Aloha.
Ahmad-san, how are you doing?
Oh, Ahmad is you.
Yeah.
Aloha. Wonderful. We're going to be starting in just a couple of minutes here.
And if I could remind you all to please mute your microphones when you're not talking so we can keep the noise levels down. Thank you.
So wait. Carolyn, you're not 6, you're number 2.
How will the reading go? You will what number am I?
Yes, I will call your name when it's time for you.
Okay.
Okay. I put reader 6, but that's not true.
Dear Hermione, please accept our condolences on the passing of our dear Bruce.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Riaz. No, that was Ahmad. Thank you.
Yes, that was me.
Me too.
Man, Rios too, I'm
Yes,
sure.
Yes.
All of
yes,
us, all of us.
I know. Thank you so much. Josie appreciates it, and I will share Melissa's with her immediately after this program this morning.
Yeah, we had our feast this morning. We just finished a few minutes ago, and prayer said for the progress of his wonderful soul.
Thank you
He
so much.
He was a wonderful, wonderful person, precious.
Absolutely.
And yes, we had our grouping meeting just as we heard. It came, the news came, and we said prayers for him.
Thank you so much.
Loved him so much.
Yes, everyone loved him. Just a dear, dear, dear brother. Just just the best big brother anyone could adopt. Just claim.
I will share all of these sentiments
Yes.
and condolences with Josie and the family so much. Really appreciate it. Well, looks like we have 5 readers then. And if Dorothy, Carolyn, Matthew, and Barbara would not mind reading twice, then once we get through to the 5th one, I'll start over again with Dorothy, Carolyn, Matthew, and Barbara.
That's fine.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. Well, friends, it is 11:14 this morning, and we're going to go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome you all to the Sunday morning devotional program at the for the Baha'i Unity Center, South DeKalb, Baha'i County, Georgia. Allahu Akbar, dear friends. God is most glorious. So wonderful to have all of you with us today. You know, around the world, the teachings of the Baha'i faith brought to us more than 150 years ago by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, its founder, and whose name in Arabic means the glory of God. His teachings have inspired and continue to inspire individuals and communities as they strive to improve their own lives and contribute to the advancement of civilization. Baha'i beliefs address such essential themes as the oneness of God and religion, the oneness of humanity and freedom from all forms of prejudice, the inherent nobility of the human being, the progressive revelation of religious truth, which is a gradual unfolding of God's purpose with the appearance of each divine teacher, the development of spiritual qualities, which allow us to reflect the image God made us in, His image, the integration of worship and service, with work performed in the spirit of service actually being counted as worship in the eyes of God, the fundamental equality of the sexes more widely evidenced in a setting of equal opportunity, the harmony between religion and science as an established fact, the centrality of justice in all human endeavor, the importance of education, particularly for children, the dynamics of the relationships that strive to bind together individuals, communities, and institutions as humanity advances towards its collective maturity. Friends, we have an amazing program planned for you this morning, and we're pleased to have you join us. Again, welcome. We will begin with the opening devotions, followed by music from Carolyn Mitchell after the healing prayer. Chris?
Lord, provide for the speedy growth of the tree of thy divine unity. Water it then, O Lord, with the flowing waters of thy good pleasure, and cause it before the revelations of thy divine assurance to yield such fruits as thou desirest for thy glorification and exaltation, thy praise and thanksgiving, and to magnify thy name, to laud the oneness of thine essence, and to offer adoration unto thee, inasmuch as all this lieth within thy grasp, and in that of none other. Great is the blessedness of those whose blood thou hast chosen wherewith to water the tree of thine affirmation, and thus to exalt thy holy and immutable word. The Baha'i.
Carolyn?
I beseech thee, O my God, by all thy transcendent glory of thy name, to clothe thy loved ones in the robe of justice, and to illumine their beings with the light of trustworthiness. Thou art the one that hath power to do as he pleases, and who holdeth within his grasp the reins of all things, visible and invisible.
Thank you, Carolyn. Matthew?
Glory be to thee, O my God. Thou hearest thine ardent lovers lamenting in their separation from thee, and such as have recognized thee wailing because of their remoteness from thy presence. Open thou outwardly to their faces, O my Lord, the gates of thy grace, that they may enter them by thy leave, and in conformity with thy will, and may stand before the throne of thy majesty, and catch the accents of thy voice, and be illumined with the splendors of the light of thy face. Potent art thou to do what pleaseth thee. None can withstand the power of thy sovereign might. From everlasting thou wert alone, with none to equal thee, and wilt unto everlasting remain far above all thought and every description of thee. Have mercy then upon thy servants by thy grace and bounty, and suffer them not to be kept back from the shores of the ocean of thy nearness. If thou abandonest them, who is there to befriend them? And if thou puttest them far from thee, who is he that can favor them? They have none other Lord beside thee, none to adore except thyself. Deal thou generously with them by thy bountiful grace. Thou in truth art the ever forgiving, the most compassionate. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, Matthew. Barbara Taylor?
He is God. Thou seest us, O my God, gathered around this table, praising thy bounty with our gaze set upon thy kingdom. O Lord, send down upon us thy heavenly food and confer upon us thy blessing. Thou art verily the bestower, the merciful, the compassionate. Abdul Baha.
Priscilla? Priscilla, are you there? And are you unmuted?
O God, O my God, O my God, thou seest me in my lowliness and weakness, occupied with the greatest undertaking, determined to raise thy word among the masses and to spread thy teachings among thy peoples. How can I succeed unless thou assist me with the breath of the Holy Spirit? Help me to triumph by the hosts of thy glorious kingdom, and shower upon me thy confirmations, which alone can change a gnat into an eagle, a drop of water into rivers and seas, and an atom into lights and suns. O my Lord, assist me with thy triumphant and effective might, so that my tongue may utter thy praises and attributes among all people, and my soul overflow with the wine of thy love and knowledge. Thou art the omnipotent and the doer of whatsoever thou willest. Abdullah.
Thank you, Priscilla. Dorothy?
Shouldest thou ordain evil for a servant by reason of that which his hands have unjustly wrought before thy face, thou wouldest test him with the benefits of this world and of the next, that he might become preoccupied therewith and forget thy remembrance. The Baha'i.
Thank you, Dorothy. Carolyn?
You're on mute, dear Carolyn.
I'm just praying away. The best beloved in all things, the best beloved of all things in my sight is justice. Turn not away therefrom if thou desirest me, and neglect it not, that I may confide in thee. By its aid thou shalt see with thine own eyes, and not through the eyes of others, and shalt know of thine own knowledge, and not through the knowledge of thy neighbor. Ponder this in thy heart, how it behooveth thee to be. Verily justice is my gift to thee, and the sign of my loving kindness. Set it then before thine eyes.
Thank you. Matthew?
Be thou not sad and dispirited on account of the opposition of the heedless ones. Soon they shall regret sorely. Reflect thou how the Pharisees persecuted and looked down in contempt upon his holiness the Christ. The result was that his lamp became ignited, his light began to shine, and his followers sparkled like unto the stars from the horizon of existence. And the consequence to the Pharisees was the pangs of remorse and regrets. Abdullah.
Thank you, Matthew. Barbara?
Justice is not limited. It is a universal quality. Its operation must be carried out in all classes, from the highest to the lowest. Justice must be sacred, and the rights of all the people must be considered. Desire for others only that which you desire for yourselves. Then shall we rejoice in the Sun of Justice, which shines from the horizon of God. Abdul-Baha.
Thank you, Barbara. And thank you, Chris, for those beautiful readings this morning and the accompanying photographs. At this time, we're going to have the healing prayer. And if any of you wish to remember a loved one through this prayer for healing, please feel free to call out his or her name at this time. Thank you.
Natalie Smith,
Josie Reynolds.
Andre Esther,
Bradley Wright Hewlett.
Jaden Esther, Christine Goss,
Carolyn Phillips and Ben Davy.
Carolyn Johnson is going, Dorothy Johnson, I'm sorry.
Elon Bowers.
The healing prayer for us this morning.
Thy name is my healing, oh my God, and remembrance of thee is my remedy. Nearness to thee is my hope, and love for thee is my companion. Thy mercy to me is my healing, and my succor in both this world and the world to come. Thou verily art the all-bountiful, the all-knowing, the all-knowing, the all-knowing, the all-wise, the all-wise, the all-wise.
Thank you. That was beautiful, Dorothy. Thank you so much for that healing prayer. Now we will have some music from our friend Carolyn Mitchell. And you can start at any time, Carolyn.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Behold the candle, how it gives its light. It weeps its life away, drop by drop, to give its flame. You must die to the world, and so be born again, and enter into the kingdom of heaven. Look at me, follow me, be as I am. We are the angels. If your feet be firm, be steadfast as a rock, that no earthly storm can move. And as ye have faith, so shall your powers be. And know that till the end, I'm always with you. Look at me, follow me, be as I am. October, serve the cause, teach mankind, be as I am. October, and how I like to travel the world in utmost poverty and cry out, Yah Baha'i, God's willing you will do this for me. Love mankind, teach the faith, be as I am. Abdul Baha, Abdul Baha. Serve the cause, love mankind, be as I am. Abdul Baha, Abdul Baha. Look at me, follow me, be as I am. Abdul Baha, Abdul Baha, Abdul Baha, Abdul Baha.
Thank you, Carolyn. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you, Abdul Baha. Interesting. Because every week we have a speaker come and join us and share some insights on a particular subject. And this week we have Mr. Riaz Khadem, and they usually present a bio. It says here, longtime Baha'i and founder of a Baha'i-inspired international consulting firm dedicated to aligning and unifying organizations. That's what he'd like for us to know about him. Not so fast. His company is InfoTrack. It says delegate, empower, and develop competency in the next level of the organization. Potential clients are informed. Sounds similar to what is taking place within the Baha'i faith, yes? We've developed concepts to align everyone in an organization with a unified vision and strategy. That certainly does. InfoTrack offers a unique and creative approach to aligning organizations. Our proprietary system has been developed organically through many years of consulting with thousands of managers worldwide. We depart from mainstream practices and introduce new concepts, tools, and methodologies that work together to advance the people in an organization toward a common goal. Anything sounding familiar here? Our system works in every industry and in companies of all sizes, yet it is flexible to be customized to fit the specific needs and culture of your organization. Bells ringing? Yeah. Benefits to your organization. You will experience an alignment solution that is comprehensive and includes accountability, competency, behaviors, and compensation. And remember, cash isn't the only form of compensation in these matters, just saying. You will have highly qualified, multilingual, certified consultants assigned to your project. This is a worldwide endeavor. You will benefit from the expertise and experience we've gained during 25 years of aligning organizations. Yes, history there. You will learn to use the effective methodologies and tools we have developed to make the process seamless. Your own resources will be trained. I'll say that again. Your own resources will be trained so that you will become self-sufficient. Yes, yes, yes. The alignment you will achieve is sustainable over many years, even decades. I know this is sounding more than familiar. Sounds like a perfect model for a Baha'i-inspired endeavor. Now, I won't go into his extensive Baha'i background, only to say that his parents, beloved hand of the cause of God, Zikrullah Khadem, and mother, beloved Javidut Khadem, must certainly be beaming from on high. Friends, please welcome Mr. Riaz Khadem, who will speak on the Master, Abdul Baha, servant of the glory.
Allah, dear friends. Hermione, I don't know where you found all of that information.
Got secrets.
That was not meant to be shared here.
Yes, it was meant to be
Just-
shared today.
Just a lowly servant. And dear friends, good morning. I'm so happy to be with you this morning and see your beautiful and radiant faces in a program which, although virtual, reminds me of the legendary South DeKalb Sunday events I had the good fortune of attending long ago with my family and often with my mother, who used to visit me from Chicago. What I've prepared to share with you this morning is nothing that most of you don't already know. It is intended to inspire you and me as we hear them once again with our inner ears to transform us to become worthy servants for the oneness of humanity. May 29, 1892. Baha'u'llah, the beloved one, received his followers as he laid in his bed, leaning against one of his sons. His soul was about to take its flight towards his eternal home, towards spiritual dominions beyond imagination. 75 years earlier, a woman had once again given birth to a prophet of God. This most recent arrival had passed childhood and youth in comfort and ease in a wealthy family, receiving no formal education, yet displaying astonishing wisdom, knowledge, and disposition. As a young man filled with a passion for justice and service to humankind, he had refused the high position in the king's court, preferring instead to spend his days in serving the cause of justice. He had embarked at an age of 27 in a highly fanatical society on the dangerous path of social transformation and human unification. This calling had challenged the religious leaders, veiled by old-time orthodoxies, prejudices, and narrow worldviews, and attracted opposition and protest. Thus, the prophet of God was persecuted for attempting to change the existing order, as previous prophets had been persecuted. He had been cast into a dark, foul-smelling dungeon with chains around his neck and feet, deprived of food and water, and of contact with his loved ones. After this prison, he had been subjected to a lifetime of exile and imprisonment, receiving every day from exile the news of scores of his followers being put to death for his sake. Despite the adversaries heaped upon him for nearly 50 years, the prophet of God had pursued undeterred the task of the regeneration of humankind, communicating from prison teachings for the new day and sending them to followers throughout the realm in letters known as tablets, through courageous foot messengers who delivered them with utmost joy and devotion. As the refreshing breeze of dawn, these teachings had galvanized his followers, numbering tens of thousands, who stood ready, nay, longing to sacrifice all for their Lord. As the beloved one leaned sitting in his bed against one of his sons, he could see in the tearful eyes of his disciples the signs of immense devotion they held for him, begging him to not leave them. But his time on earth had come to a close, and the bird of his soul was waiting to carry him to his other dominions where the eyes of men had never seen. He addressed his followers gently and affectionately, saying, I am well pleased with you all. Ye have rendered many services and been very assiduous in your labors. Ye have come here every morning and every evening. May God assist you to remain united. May he aid you to exalt the cause of the Lord of being. There had never been a need for his followers to ask him questions because he read each person's heart and answered their unasked questions. A woman by his bedside pondered, what would happen after he was gone? Who would be the father of the orphans, the solace to the poor, the defender of the wronged ones, the healer of the sick? He answered her concern by assuring her that in a document entrusted by him to his son, the master, he had commended them all to his care. He was going, but was leaving them his son, the most precious gem, who knew the secrets of his teachings. A scholar among his followers thought, who would finish his work of the regeneration of the human race? The answer was in a tablet he had written to them before, that the master would guide and direct them to finish that work, that all were commanded to seek the master and abide beneath his shadow. He had told them that the master was the shelter for all mankind, a shield unto all. He had made them aware of the station of the master, saying that blessed, doubly blessed is the ground which his footsteps have trodden, the eye that has been cheered by the beauty of his countenance, the ear that has been honored by hearkening to his call, the heart that had tasted the sweetness of his love, the breast that had dilated through his remembrance, the pen that had voiced his praise, the scroll that had borne the testimony of his writings. Now the messenger of God was going. His wish was that all would turn to the master and follow him and be like him. Much as the prophet of God loved his followers, his soul was longing to commence its flight. Thus the moment arrived, and the nightingale of paradise, the prophet of God, took its flight into the immense realm of the spirit, spiritual dominions beyond dreams, leaving thousands of disciples and loved ones heartbroken and weeping. A telegram conveyed the news of his passing in these words: the son of Baha has set. Dear friends, no one would disagree that the world is faced with fundamental problems of disunity, contention, systemic injustice, and racial prejudice, not to mention the pandemic and its disproportionate impact on our brothers and sisters. Despite the darkness that surrounds the world, let us be confident in a future, however distant, that is so bright and promising that we cannot possibly imagine. What guarantees that future are the teachings of Baha'u'llah, the latest prophet from God, as exemplified in the life and teachings of the Master, who is the remnant of Baha, the greatest gift of God to humanity for all time. For those of us who aspire to lasting change from the current conditions of the world to the glorious future, it is the Master we must turn for his example of the qualities we need to emulate. Tactful and wise. Penetrating in utterance. Indiscriminating in fellowship. Unfailing in sympathy for the downtrodden. Courageous in conduct. Persevering in action. Imperturbable in the face of tests. Unwavering in a keen sense of justice. To get a glimpse of these precious qualities of the Master, we will review today a few snapshots of his holy life. We will strive to see with our inner eyes, the eyes of our spirit, and inhale with our inner faculties the spiritual fragrance of his presence and allow the example of the Master to inspire us to action. 1898, Akka, Palestine. It is Friday morning. A crowd is gazing at the gate about to open. They have come to see the Master walk out of the front of his house. They are anxious and full of hope, mostly poor, orphaned, widowed, numbering over 100. Some are blind, many are undernourished, pale and old. They are attracted like a magnet to this spot, knowing that the Master would have time to spend with them. They are here to feel his love again this Friday and forget their emptiness, despair, fear, and pain, even just for a few moments. 1 week before, he had greeted them personally, inquired about their families, offered them words of comfort and wisdom, answered questions they asked, and questions in their hearts they didn't even ask. Just few days before, some of the sick had received visits of a doctor sent by him. Some without adequate clothing had received wardrobes sent by him. Some without adequate nutrition had received baskets of food from his table. He had visited them every Friday, and he would surely do so today. The crowd swells as the expected moment arrives. The door opens and the Master walks out of his house. He is close to 60 years of age, has gray hair and long beard, and is wearing a beige robe. His eyes are gray and blue, filled with unconditional love. His face is full of smiles and luminous. His walk is majestic. His disposition is calm. His words are comforting. His bearing hides the toil of 40 years he had spent in prison. He shows love towards all, even the fanatical priests and prejudiced government officials who had cast him in prison, fearing his teachings would challenge their authority. He shows no trace of hate for those who had treated him with indignity, only love and compassion, for they knew not what they had done. The crowd gathers around him. The Master pushes them gently back and lets them pass him one by one. As they come, they hold their hands extended. In each open palm, he places some small coin. He knows them all. He caresses them with his hand on the face and on the shoulder and on the head. He stops a woman with a babe and fondly strokes the child. He is on his way to visit the sick and others who need his help. Among many who are seeking his help are government officials, mayors, judges, teachers, or priests, whom he had visited before and had encouraged to pursue justice and to serve. Today, he would reframe their challenges again and give them the strength to press on. In the evening, he will be visiting a few dozen of his followers who have concluded an arduous journey of over 6 months to see him. They are counting the minutes to attain his presence and be transformed by him, as many of their countrymen had done before. This is a schedule he keeps daily, with some variations throughout the year. At the beginning of the winter, he provides warm coats for 500 to 600 of the poorest people in the city. Upon many of those who are crippled, he places the garment himself, adjusts it with his own hands, and strokes it approvingly. Visitors who have observed the master are astonished. One of them records, "All the people know him and love him, the rich and the poor, the young and the old, even the babe leaping in its mother's arms. If the master hears of anyone sick in the city, Muslim or Christian or any other sect, it matters not. He is each day at their bedside or sends a trusting messenger. If a physician is needed and the patient is poor, he brings or sends one, and also the necessary medicine. If he finds a leaking roof or a broken window menacing health, he summons a workman and wastes himself to see the breach repaired. He spends very little time on himself, so he can be generous to others. His garments are usually cotton and the cheapest that can be bought. Often his friends send him costly garments. These he wears once out of respect for the sender. Then he gives them away. He is often heard saying, "How could I be happy having 2 clothes, knowing that there are those who have none?" Nor would he be content until he had given the second one away. Before this morning visit and late in the evening, the master connects through correspondence with thousands of followers throughout the world who have sent him personal letters conveying their devotion and life challenges. They tell him of their pain, the death of a son or a husband, the loss of fortune, the disappointments in their relationships and marriage. They write to him describing dilemmas in their lives and ask him what path to pursue. They write him describing their suffering as victims of prejudice or of financial loss. They ask him how they should serve. He reads each letter carefully, feels their love and their pain, prays for each person, and communicates his words of wisdom, words that serve to widen their perspective, raise them to higher levels of spirituality, words that help them see their challenges as opportunities for growth and service. When they address him as the master, he responds that he is only the servant. Among his followers is a woman called Lua from America, who had seen the master in her dreams long before she learned about him. With yearning to attain his presence, she and her husband traversed thousands of miles over the ocean and across the land before arriving at his home on a spring evening. The master was not there, but when his arrival was announced, she runs out in the court to meet him. Kneeling before him, she expresses her love and gratefulness for having attained. He lovingly helps her to her feet and walks with her to the house where she sits beside him at his table for dinner. During the meal, he takes a piece of bread, putting on it some honey, hands it to her to eat, saying, "Let all your words be as sweetly flavored by kindness to all people as this bread is flavored by honey." As she swallows this mouthful from his blessed hand, She truly feels a great spiritual blessing. Her heart melts by the power of love, and tears fall like rain over her cheeks. The master welcomes her husband and invites him to sit beside him, asking after his health and if he was happy. It is during this first visit when the master tells Lua that he is sending her back to her country, that she may work there for the oneness of humanity, to gain a place beside him in the eternal kingdom. After the meal, he pours water on her hands while she washes her hand and face after he has done so himself. Then he hands her the towel and says, "Now you must go and wash from the faces of the people the clouds of ignorance, and from their hearts the love of this world, that they may receive the spirit of truth and shine as lamps in the kingdom." This first visit comes to an end in just a few days. The master addresses them before leaving, words that continue to ring in their ears. "Do not cry, be happy. I will go with you in spirit. The separation of the body is nothing. I will go with you." Lua and her husband ride in silence away from the home of their beloved master. They know that only their body was going away, for they had left their heart there, at his feet. These few days with the master have changed the course of their lives, for they have seen purity, holiness, godliness, and absolute perfection. She saw him daily surrounded by difficulties and trials, such as no human being could endure, and yet she saw him patient, calm, and serene. People curse him, and he blesses them. They seek to kill him, and he smiles and prays God to forgive them. The only things that cause him to be sad is to see and know that those who call themselves as believers have no love in their hearts for one another, for they can only prove their love to God by manifesting it towards each other. But he is very patient, for we are but babes in the faith. September 1910, Alexandria. After 42 years, the master leaves the Holy Land for Egypt, embarking on a journey that would take him to Western world with the aim of spreading the principles of the oneness of humanity in Europe and later in America. The news of his departure spreads among his companions in the East and the West, and many now travel to see him in Ramleh, an eastern suburb of Alexandria. Among those who visit him are an English woman, Louisa Matthew, and a Black American, Louis Gregory. During one of his addresses to a gathering of the friends, the master refers to racial amity and says, intermarriage is a good way to efface racial differences. It produces strong, beautiful offspring, clever and resourceful. This is the first time the master hints, wishing Louisa and Louis to consider marrying each other. He wants them to marry because he sees a seed in their heart of love for each other. And he knows that the union would be a happy one and would become an example of racial unity. On another occasion in Alexandria, the master sees the need of one of his followers who is in Paris, blind and without money. He asks one of his followers who is visiting him in Ramleh, a major in the British Army named Tudorpole, to go to Paris on his way back to England, find this young student named Tamadono Mork, give him some money, and ask him to come to Alexandria to see him. Although Tudorpole's plan is different. He obeys and is able to find the young man and fulfill the master's assignment, and also realize that by obedience, he had averted a grave situation which could have happened with his original plan. The master's love and compassion had surrounded both him and the young student. Dear friends, I'm going to just continue with a few more and then stop when the time is over. But these are beautiful stories. September 1911, London, England. Reverend R.J. Campbell, the pastor of the City Temple, London, meets the master and invites him to visit the City Temple where he is preaching. The master accepts and speaks during the evening service to a large gathering, over 2,000 in the City Temple. It is his first public address to the Western world. When his talk is finished, one of his followers reads the English translation of the talk and includes a promise of the brilliant future, however distant for mankind. The master's vision of the future is informed by his confidence that the principle of the oneness of humanity would eventually penetrate the consciousness of people everywhere and change this world to another world. He says to the congregation that evening, "This is a new cycle of human power. All the horizons of the world are luminous, and the world will become indeed as a garden and a paradise. It is the hour of unity of the sons of men, and the drawing together of all races and all classes. The gift of God to this enlightened age is the knowledge of the oneness of mankind and the fundamental oneness of religion." Newspaper reporters, including Christian Commonwealth, covered the talk of the master. The awareness of his presence brings seekers after truth, men and women from all walks of life, from England and afar, to the door of his house. The numbers are so large that the master's companions have to organize the flow of those seeking interview with him. Despite his old age, he welcomes them all. One day, a woman appears at the door wishing to meet him. When asked if she had an appointment, she admits that she had not, and is told that he is occupied and not able to see her. The woman is sad, and as she turns away and walks down the steps, a messenger from the master rushes out breathlessly to reach her, saying, "The master wishes to see you, come back." And from the house comes the powerful voice of the master saying, "A heart has been hurt. Hasten, hasten, bring her to me." One day, when he is visiting London as a guest in one of the upper class families of the city, a descendant of Queen Victoria, a wretched looking tramp knocks at the door. Having nearly put an end to his life, he walked 30 miles to reach this door. What had persuaded him to embark on this path was a picture of the master he had seen in the newspaper. With trepidation, he knocks. The master opens the door and welcomes this man with a smile, extends his arm with a warm and affectionate welcome. He invites the man into the house and sits the man on the chair next to him. He speaks to him affectionately while taking his hand and stroking his matted hair. Be happy, he says. Do not be filled with grief when humiliation overtaketh thee. The bounty and power of God is without limit for each and every soul in the world. When a man rises to go, transformed and no longer a dejected person, he tells the hostess, "I have attained all I expected and even more." October 1911, Paris, France. The master visits a very poor quarter of Paris to visit Mr. and Mrs. Ponsonnet, who were very poor. And when they accepted the teachings of Baha'u'llah, they felt that their work should be among the orphans in the city. Initially, they had stopped eating their midday meal in order to give it to the children and met in an old car until the local clergy tried to take over their work. When the clergy was unsuccessful, they managed to get the car removed. The Parisian followers of the master provided Mr. Ponsonnet with materials he used to build a small cabin with his own hands, in which he continued his work with orphan children. The master arrives to visit these devoted friends. Alice Bede, one of the followers of the master who went with him, relates, "I had never seen such a dirty, miserable quarter. We walked down to the end of a narrow lane or street without sidewalks, on which doors opened to places where soldiers and women were drinking and screaming, while from the small windows, bedclothes were hanging out, to the small gate through which we passed by the discarded car into a small board about 20 by 25 feet. At one end was a raised platform and desk of rough boards. I can only say, as my eyes fell first upon the greatest name hanging in a frame from his desk, and I saw the crowd of miserably poor, dear little ones gathered there. As my ears caught the music of their voices, for they were singing, tears filled my eyes and a great lump choked me." After Mr. Ponsonnet reads the tablet from the master, we hear his words. "I'm very glad to be here with you. I am very glad to see you all here. I love you very much. I have been in many beautiful houses, but this is more beautiful to me than any of others. For the spirit of love of Baha'u'llah is here. You are all receiving the teachings of God and learning how to act and live, and someday you will be great and wise for having learned the truth. I have seen many beautiful rich children, but to me, you are more beautiful." The master praises the work of Ponsonnet, saying, "This is great work you are doing for the love of God in this great city, through the power of Baha'u'llah. Your station is great. Your name will go through all ages. Kings and queens have never been talked of and remembered as you will be. You are the workers of the kingdom of Abha, and I'm very happy and love you very much." The master then chants a prayer and goes to where the children were, all crowded close around him, and laying his hands, caressing upon some of their heads, and taking the hands of others with a loving smile to all. With difficulty, he passes down the aisle to the door. Alice Bede, who had to quiet a few of the rough boys before the master arrived, but after he came, they never moved nor spoke when he passed out. They fell over each other in their great desire to have him take their hand. April 1912, New York, United States. That's familiar to us, this country. The master embarks on a journey on the Cedric to America at the invitation of peace societies and also to serve his loved ones in that country. He invites Louisa Matthew to join him on this trip. And one day he asks her to go for a walk with him on the deck. He says, "I said what I said because I saw a seed in your heart. Now is the watering time. He's preparing her for union with Mr. Gregory. Later, he would tell his wish, I beg God that through you, good fellowship may be obtained between the white and the black, for you are an introduction to this accomplishment. When his ship moves through the New York harbor and his eyes fall on the Statue of Liberty, he holds his arm apart in salutation and says, there is the new world symbol of liberty and freedom. Liberty has special meaning to the master, as he had spent over 40 years in prison and was released when the tyrannical regime fell and the prisoners of conscience were set free. A newspaper reporter asked, will you tell us how you felt while in prison and how you regard your freedom? The master makes no mention of his sufferings in the prison. He does not mention that he chose to sleep in a morgue so that the companions imprisoned with him would be comfortable in one room they had been given. He makes no mention of the fact that the walls where he slept were damp and the roof leaked, and the floor was covered with dust, that he sat and slept on a mat in that room, that his bed cover was sheepskin, that the room was infested with fleas, and when he slept under the sheepskin, fleas gathered and began biting, that he would sleep for a while before the fleas found their way again to the inner side, that he would then turn the sheepskin over again and do this 8 to 10 times every night. Instead, to the reporter's question, the master responds, I was thankful for the prison, and the lack of liberty was very pleasing to me. For those days were passed in the path of service, under the utmost difficulties and trials, bearing fruits and results. Unless one accepts dire vicissitudes, he will not attain. To me, prison is freedom, trouble is rest, death is life, and to be despised is honor. Therefore, I was happy all that time in prison. There is no prison but the prison of self. As the master enters New York, he praises God for the stupendous material civilization obtained in America. He says, however, that material civilization alone does not safeguard the progress of a nation, because through material civilization, infernal instruments of human fratricide, which is killing one's brother and sister, are multiplied and constantly perfected. When material civilization joins hand with spiritual civilization, then it will be perfect. During his trip to America, the master attracts followers from a variety of backgrounds: white, black, Asian, Middle Eastern, rich, poor, people living in big mansions, or homeless people living in shelters, prominent figures in society or ordinary folks, highly educated or those with no formal education. All are attracted to him through the love emanating from him. His message to his followers is simple and timeless. Be ye loving fathers to the orphan, and a refuge to the helpless, and a treasury for the poor, and a cure for the ailing. Be ye helpers of every victim of oppression, the patrons of the disadvantaged. Think ye all the time of rendering some service to every member of the human race. The master's life is an example of these counsels. For him, physical appearance makes no difference. It matters not whether a person is rich or poor, black or white, educated or not. What matters are the person's spiritual qualities. April 1912, Washington, D.C. The master's visits the nation's capital, where he meets many of the prominent personalities of the country, including former President Theodore Roosevelt, Alexander Graham Bell, William Salzer, who later became the governor of New York, US Secretary of Treasury Lee McClung. Lee McClung's comment after meeting the master is, I felt as if I was in the presence of the great prophet Isaiah, Elijah. No, that is not it. The presence of Christ. No, I felt I was in the presence of my divine Father. While in Washington, after speaking at Howard University, a formal lunch is prepared for 19 of the white social elites with the master. About an hour before luncheon, the master sent a message to Louis Gregory to come to the meeting he had with the friends. Mr. Gregory arrives, but waits for a chance to leave the house obtrusively, as lunchtime arrives. Everyone is seated at the table for lunch when the master stands up, looks around and inquires, where is Mr. Gregory? Bring Mr. Gregory. While they look for Mr. Gregory, the master rearranges the place settings that was done according to Washington protocol and places Mr. Gregory in the seat of honor next to his own. He says he was very pleased to have Mr. Gregory there. Then, in a most natural way, as if nothing had happened, proceeds to give a talk on the oneness of mankind. Dear friends, these were some samplings of what it was like to be in the presence of the beloved master, Abdul Baha. This selection gives us only a glimmering of the precious example he set for all those who are determined to bring about social change so badly needed in our distracted world. Tactful and wise, penetrating in utterance, indiscriminating in fellowship, unfailing in sympathy for the downtrodden, courageous in conduct, persevering in action, imperturbable in the face of tests, unwavering in a keen sense of justice. As we reflect on the life of the beloved master, let us remember these words ringing in our ears. My name is Abdul Baha. My identity is Abdul Baha. My qualification is Abdul Baha. My reality is Abdul Baha. My praise is Abdul Baha. Thraldom to the blessed perfection is my glorious and refulgent diadem. And servitude to all the human race is my perpetual religion. No name, no title, no mention, no commendation had he or will I ever have except Abdul Baha. This is my longing. This is my supreme apex. This is my greatest yearning. This is my eternal life. This is my everlasting glory. Look at me and be as I am. Take no thought for yourselves or your lives, whether you eat or whether you sleep, whether you are comfortable, whether you are well or ill, whether you are with friends or foes, whether you receive praise or blame. For all these things you must care not at all. Look at me and be as I am. Ye must die to yourselves and to the world, so ye shall be born again and enter the kingdom of heaven. Behold the candle, how it gives its light. It weeps its life away drop by drop in order to give forth its flame of light. Thank you, dear friends.
Thank you, dear Riaz, for this precious talk. These reminders of certain events in the lives of His Holiness Baha'u'llah and his son Abdul Baha, the servant of Baha, can never be shared too often. You know, we are therefore inspired, truly inspired to transform ourselves to become worthy servants in the cause of God, as you mentioned. Thank you so much again. At this time, we can ask persons present if they have any questions for Riaz. This is the time. We'll spend a little bit of time on questions and answers. Anyone? Kathy's clapping. When people don't have questions, that means that it was utter perfection and they understood everything.
I think that means they're thinking about those examples of Abdul Baha.
Yes, which were so well taken. It's just amazing all of the things he did and the things that you shared, such as detecting that someone's heart is hurt and fixing that, remedying that situation immediately, you know, unquestionably. All of those examples of what we should strive to be like. So important.
Yes, Hermie, if you don't mind, I would just like to say thank you, Riaz, for all of that. It was beautiful. And Carolyn, of course, your song, Look at Me, Follow Me, was actually perfect timing. And it's really interesting because for, I guess, maybe the last 3 or 4 days through mornings, I'm waking up, that song, Look at Me, Follow Me, just been in my heart, and just thinking of Abdul Baha has just been in my heart. And so it's he's, like you say, he's the perfect example. And so I think about things and I'm like, okay, now what would Abdul Baha do? And so I'm trying to be more conscious of you know, following his lead and like I said, look at him and follow him. But I just thought it was really interesting. So thank you for this. And thank you, Carolyn, as well for the beautiful song, because this has been, Abdul Baha has been in my heart and it's just perfect timing.
Thank you so much, Dorothy. Any other comments from anyone?
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing those stories. And I think it's powerful is whether you receive praise or blame, all these things you must not care about. Look at him, be as he was. And that's challenging in you know, the face of blame and accusations. Maybe we as Baha'is and people who are searching or defending social justice may have to face that kind of blame or accusations for trying to unite people. That's what came to my mind. Thank you, Ria Alaupa.
Thank you for your comment, Matthew. Carolyn. Actually, there's some type of interference, noise interference. That's a little staticky. I'm not sure what's causing it. Whatever it is, we're not able to hear you over it. Are you able to hear that?
Yeah, we hear that. Right away.
Because she muted. See?
I think there's a problem with Carolyn's device.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn, see if you can speak over the sound of that background noise.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, and if you could get a little closer to the microphone on your. We can hear you, but we can't decipher exactly what you're saying.
Hermione, I think I see a lot of people who don't have their cameras on. We'd love to see your beautiful faces.
That's sometimes a challenge.
Yeah.
Depends why we can't see their beautiful faces.
Mhm.
There's Matthew and Sherry.
Mhm.
Who else is here?
Oh,
Ruha, Allahu Akbar, everyone.
good to see you.
Linda.
So, but anyway, it was a pleasure to see all of you. It's a great day to come together. You know,
That's the good thing about Zoom, Riaz. You can be here and not have to be here.
oh,
You
yes.
can come just as you are.
Yeah, we want to see you just as you are.
You say that now.
Yeah.
Well, those were great questions and comments. Thank you. At this time, we'd like to welcome all of our guests to the Baha'i Unity Center Sunday morning devotional program. If this is your first, second, third, or next in a series of visits, please feel free to share who you are, where you're from, how you happen to be with us today. And it doesn't have to, it can be Baha'is who are from out of state or out of town, or any person present, Baha'i or not a member of the faith. We'd love to hear from you. Kathy?
I'm Kathy Jenner. I live kind of in the middle of the state of Florida, near the Space Center.
Oh.
On the East Coast. Lived here for about 22 years. I'm a longtime Baha'i. I'm Linda's older sister. I love Riaz. I thought it was a beautiful, inspiring presentation, and thank you so much. We need so much that uplifting spirit right now.
Mhm.
So I'm really happy to be here. And it's wonderful to see all of your faces. Your program is so different from ours. It's really nice to experience a different format. And I thought it was very lovely, very moving. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy, for sharing that. And we're happy to meet you at this time. Some of you may already know her, but I'm pleased to be able to meet you for the first time. Anyone else? Any other guests that are with us today?
Hi, it's Priscilla Holford. I haven't seen you, Riaz, for many years, so you look younger than ever. How do you do that? Your talk was so beautifully done.
Yeah.
Really a work of art. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Priscilla. Any other comments before we make a few quick announcements and then close?
I'd like to thank Riaz for his continuous efforts to educate us, and whatever subject we think, oh, we know a little bit, he surprised us and he continues in educating us. I'm humbly grateful. Please accept my gratitude for this beautiful talk.
You're so kind. I'm trying to educate myself. That was the motive by going through that.
Thank you, Ruha. Anyone else before we start with our announcements?
We have Ken here. Ken is a new Baha'i. Please introduce yourself, Ken.
Oh, hi. Yeah, just a wonderful program. Very, very different from just reading stories and the holy writings. You really make Abdul Baha alive and more relevant than just reading text. So Yeah, as Kathy said, very different format than our Sunday sessions, and really appreciative that you let me attend. And in general, just it's wonderful being a Baha'i in these troubling times.
Where do you live?
Really offers a glimmer of hope, more than a glimmer of hope. It offers a truth that I can't forget about what's happening today, but it's consoling to know that the answer is out there and will come eventually. So,
Are you
thank
from
you
the
for
Atlanta
having me.
area?
Tell us how you became Baha'i.
Kathy invited me to a showing of The Gate, and it was so powerful. I was a very happy Catholic. I was very content. I felt very safe going to Mass every Sunday. But here was this wonderful faith that it was saying things that I believed. And instead of listening to the clergy, it placed a burden on me to investigate and read and learn. And that truly has been a wonderful thing. I don't know a lot. I keep trying, but what keeps glimmering through is just the knowing about Baha'u'llah and progressive revelation and just the truths of the faith. It makes me not worry about not knowing everything, rather just being on the path. So it's been a wonderful gift for me. And I thank you. Thank you for keeping the faith alive.
That is truly inspirational. So you already answered my question as to essentially where you're from, I'm guessing, near or in Kathy's community. And how long ago did you become a Baha'i?
That'll be 2 years in December.
Wonderful anniversary coming up.
Yes, yes.
Well, welcome to the Baha'i faith and the Baha'i worldwide community. We're happy
Thank
to
you.
have you. Thank you.
You know,
And
dear
you're free to
Herman,
join this program every Sunday if time and opportunity permit for you. We'd be pleased to have you with us.
dear Hermione, I want to say a word to. I want to thank our dear brother Riaz John for his wonderful presentation. And that also shows really his wisdom. He could have chosen to introduce to us Abdul Baha in a different way. But what a wonderful way to choose to inspire all of us. You know, we Baha'is have role to play. And we Baha'is are also just an ordinary human being. And we become affected by what is happening in the world, in our society. And like a battery, we get discharged. We get weak. We need to be recharged and keep on going. And this kind of stories inspires our souls. Then we are really become more able to assist ourselves and people who are around us to infuse some of that, to diffuse some of that hope and understanding and that spiritual feeling and the spiritual experience to others. Because by words alone, it's very difficult to do that. And when a Baha'i who is charged to bring about the new world order and to basically assist humanity, if I am weak and lost my charge, it's very hard for a weak person to assist somebody else to pick up somebody else. So I wanted to thank you again, dear Riaz, bringing that beautiful stories to inspire us again so that we can keep on moving. And that is what this devotional gathering, this assists us, and to bring our friends. Because this world cannot, this kingdom of God is not going to just come from heaven, fall on the ground so we can enjoy it. We have to build it. And these are the groups. But I was very inspired. Such a beautiful presentation. Thank you again, dear Riaz. Thank you.
Thank you, Ahmad, for that. Okay, we do have a couple of announcements. Well, first of all, next week's speaker is going to be Mr. Masood Olafani. So please be sure to stop in for another outstanding presentation. We're on a roll now. So watch for details about that sometime later this week. And please remember the food distribution program every Thursday at the Baha'i Unity Center from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. in the parking lot. And do spread the word to help combat food insecurity within the community. And for members of the Baha'i Faith, you are warmly encouraged to make a financial contribution to the South DeKalb Baha'i Fund and the National Baha'i Fund through the online contribution system, OCS. After you log in, just select the My Locality tab, then click Enter Community Contribution and select either this locality and or any other recipient under the list of recipient options, then follow the prompts. You can go to ocs.baha'i.us. Now, are there any other announcements before we close? Okay, many thanks to everyone who worked together to make today's program possible. Again, thank you, Riaz, for that beautiful presentation. And thanks to all of you for sharing your day with us. Until next time, stay safe and well. We will end now with the closing prayer. Matthew, would you like to read it?
Sure, Dikaman. Suffer me, O my God, to draw nigh unto thee, and to abide within the precincts of thy court. For remoteness from thee hath well nigh consumed me. Cause me to rest under the shadow of the wings of thy grace. For the flame of my separation from thee hath melted my heart within me. Draw me nearer unto the river that is life indeed. For my soul burneth with thirst in its ceaseless search after thee. My sighs, O my God, proclaim the bitterness of mine anguish, and the tears I shed attest my love for thee. I beseech thee by the praise wherewith thou praisest thyself, and the glory wherewith thou glorifiest thine own essence, to grant that we may be numbered among them that have recognized thee and acknowledged thy sovereignty in thy days. Help us then to quaff, O my God, from the fingers of mercy, the living waters of thy loving kindness, that we may utterly forget all else except thee and be occupied only with thyself. Powerful art thou to do what thou willest. No God is there beside thee, the mighty, the help in peril, the self-subsisting. Glorified be thy name, O thou who art the King of all kings. Baha'u'llah.
Thank you, Kathy. Well, friends, that concludes our program for today. We appreciate your coming and supporting and look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you and have a good day. Allah.
Lawapa.